My name is Brian Taylor. I am the brewmaster for Whiner Beer Company, located in Back of the Yards on the south side. And we opened in 2016. I actually grew up in a small town called Lake Ozark, Missouri.
If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to f***ing kill me!
So I'm a transplant here in Chicago. I've been here a good almost 20 years now, so I consider myself a Chicagoan. The thing about Chicago I love is the craft beer scene. It is one of the largest in the country. I believe we're like number 3 or 4 as far as craft breweries in Cook County per capita. It creates a great dynamic for craft beer learning. We are super good friends with Mars, who is right down the street. Any other business, they would be our competitors. Once a beer drinker puts down the Miller and picks up a craft beer, he's all of ours for life. I am a brewer by trade. I have never had another job other than beer. I started out of college. I went to Siebel Institute, which is in Chicago. That's kind of how I got to know Chicago. Siebel Institute is a world-renowned brewing school. And it's a year course, 6 months in Germany, 6 months in Chicago, and stayed here and got a job with Goose Island. And that's how I ended up in the city. I had a biology degree as my background, and it really lured me in because of yeast and fermentation, and I actually worked in labs in breweries over the years and moved my way up to become head cellarman at Goose. Worked there for 9 years and then started Whiner Beer. I didn't have money, didn't come from money. So when you're talking starting your own business, it seems so far away for someone without the means or the funds. During my days at Goose Island, I met my partner, Rhea. It took, like I said, over 2 years, but we got enough money to actually start building the brewery and then finally opening in 2016. On any given day, we have about 30 to 40 different brands of beer that we sell both in the tap room and outside of the brewery. We do have IPAs for all of the IPA fans. Obviously, you can't survive without an IPA these days. I create all of the beers and the recipes. Rhea does all the artwork for them. We think we have some of the best can label art in the industry. Rhea does an amazing job. Honestly, I don't think we would be as popular as we are without our labels. We have Francis Lambicus, which is a goat that you can find on a t-shirt in our brewery. The selfie mouse is on every label. You kind of have to find it. We have these little clues. We have something hidden, a character, maybe Disney, hidden on every single label in our beers. So we constantly love watching people actually find it and then Instagram message us. Back of the Yards was an interesting location for us, but it was very specific. Rhea and I were looking for a different type of brewery. Breweries are very wasteful. Between water, ingredients, packaging. We met John Edel, the owner of the plant, and he had a building that was set up to create sustainable products. On day one, to have an apparatus set up where we can hook up our spent CO2 to an algae farm. The algae company actually creates that algae for kratom, and the algae creates O2. We're eliminating our CO2 emissions, and they're getting free CO2 and creating oxygen out of it. That's just one example of a million that we do. Back of the Yards is famous for being the world's largest stockyards back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. There have been books written about it. We actually have a copy in our tap room. Just to give you an idea of how crazy it was back then, we have a creek that comes off the Chicago River. It's called Bubbly Creek because of all the methane gas still bubbling up from the carcasses that they used to throw into that creek. When I first moved in late 2014, you could still smell the smoke from the smokers. They have transformed the smokers in the building into bathrooms now. So when you walk into our building, you'll see these steel smokers that are separated out and turned into bathrooms. And Again, that goes back to our sustainability aspect of reusing rather than throwing away. So I live on the south side. I also live in Bridgeport. I used to live on the north side. When we were starting the brewery, I lived in Logan Square and would drive down, and I had those same thoughts that every white guy has coming down, like, is this the right move? Like, it's pretty crazy when you get south of Roosevelt, but it is so different once you actually go there, meet the community. We're in a neighborhood. They are the nicest people in the world. I get super frustrated now when I get phone calls, which I do all the time. People asking about my parking lots. Are they safe? Have we had any muggings? No, we've never had a single problem in 10 years, and that's a fact. I think it's just one of those stigmas that happens, but